Hello everyone, welcome back. And if you are new here, I am the Bibliophile Doctorate, and in this channel we talk about books, fiction mostly, some non-fiction and sometimes long form essay. I'm really happy that you have chosen to spend a few minutes of your days with me. So today I am tackling the book. This is one of those books which might have taken over your Instagram feed or your booktube page in some point of your time, and even now it is quite a popular book. So any guesses what this book is? Yes, if you have guessed it right, it is The Little Life by Yanagihara. Most people who have read this book have said that this book has actually devastated them. I am one among them, mostly. I actually got this book as a gift way back in 2017. I started reading it back then, but I eventually DNF'd because it was very heavy and intense. So I DNF'd it and I put it on my shelf, so it sat on my shelf with my other piling TBR books and definitely judged me. But last year I finally decided that it's time to pick it up and give it a second try. And yeah, it did break my heart. It was kind sad story. I did stare at the ceiling trying to process the grief that was there in the book. But apart from the grief and sadness, there were certain aspects of the book that didn't sit quite right with me. It did really itch me. So today I'm going to go entirely honest about what I felt or what I experienced while I was reading this book. So firstly, I will go into the book, what is it about and what I liked about it, and eventually I'll dive into the things that kind of itched me. If you haven't read this book, you can watch the first half safely. There will be no spoiler, and before I dive into the part which I didn't like, and obviously there will be spoilers in it, I'll give you a warning, so you can stop at that point, save this video and come back to it at a later time if you want. For those of you who haven't read it yet, to give you an idea of what this book is about, the story follows four friends: Jude, Willem, Malcolm and JB. It follows them over the decade as they move from being college student with their studies to making something, living and being successful in their own field. At first, they are struggling student. They are living in cramped apartment and having the times of their life, being with each other as a group of four. Each have their own struggling journey. Malcolm is trying to become an architect, JB is trying to become an artist, Willem wanted to become an actor, and Jude is trying to become a lawyer. The core group of friends except Willem is mostly people of color, and that adds an extra layer of how they experience the world around them. So as the book progresses, the focus mostly becomes on Jude and Willem, and it evolves into a complex queer story. Jude has a deeply traumatized past, like he went through such things like you can't even imagine. I won't go into the details because it might spoil you for it, but it had a deep impact on him. And while I was reading, at times I did have an urge to go into the story and save him from all this devastation which is happening in his life. He was a healthy child, but due to some part of this experiences which he actually had an injury in his leg which eventually make him a bit physically challenged. Along the path, along with his friends and his best friend Willem, he also meet another mentor figure who almost become like a father figure to him as the story progresses. It's a massive book. As you can see, it is quite thick and it's going to be an intense journey, and yes, it can devastate you. One of the best thing about this book is that it brings to the forefront men who are vulnerable, also how vulnerable young boys can also face kind of traumatizing abuse, and because of patriarchy those abuses are far more silenced than if any young girl faces that abuse. So it's a very interesting part that this book brings those into the front of the plot. Another thing is about the body image and vulnerability. Jude is throughout the book is described as quite a handsome man, but because he has a kind of physical challenge in his body, his focus goes entirely into that, and he thinks himself not up to that mark. But this is how it shows that when we have a certain form of insecurity about which we are insecure about, it takes a larger frame in our mind, though to the people who love us they don't even exist. Alright, so if you haven't read the book and you want to go completely fresh into it without having any spoiler, you can pause at this point, save it, and come to it later when you have finished the book, and you can see the points which I felt an ick and can see if you felt it as well. Okay, so let's talk about the thing which didn't sit right with me or gave me the ick. Okay, the first thing which actually seemed a bit surprising to me was the absolute lack of female character. I know this book, the main focus is on the male characters, these 4 friends and their lives, and it's absolutely fine. But even if you have a book which is a female centric book, you do have certain small minor significant male character which does have an impact on the plot line. But here there was an absolute lack of female character. Like, there is no specific, even in a minor point of view, any character which did have an impact on the main plot line, apart from the few women that Willem dates who doesn't really have much of an impact on the plot line, or Richard's wife, or a couple of classmates when they were in their college time. There were no significant female characters anywhere in the story. I am willing to give a benefit of doubt to the author that she wanted it to be entirely male-centric, and that is fine, but with this thick of a book with no significant female character, it did felt a bit off. The second thing, which is absolutely my ick, is Willem's character. He is one of those characters throughout, like even from the beginning you will see that he is an extremely handsome character and women are attracted towards him, but he does have a queer side. He's a queer guy. I can't really wrap my head around Willem's character as a friend or later as a partner. I know his story is also given a very tragic angle, and he has also a very sad backdrop of his character, but still, like, I know people can be imperfect, but still it felt a bit odd to me, because Willem considered himself to be almost like a best friend to Jude. So even when they were in the best friend phase, so he saw signs which felt off to him and repeated times, and still he didn't sit with Jude and talk about why is it, maybe not trying but trying to get to know. That felt odd from a person who considered himself as the closest friend and almost like a best friend. Then there is a phase shift, and then Willem and Jude started to date, and it was Willem who kind of confessed that he has realized that he likes Jude, and they start dating. But even in this phase, Willem felt so insensitive at times, and I was questioning, does he even really love Jude, or is it because he is dating him because of the familiarity, because he have known him from a long time, or maybe because he have a savior complex, because he knows Jude has all this insecurity in him, so maybe he is trying to save him for that insecurity. Because there is a part where when they are in the dating, Jude is averse to physical intimacy, which can be understood looking at his past trauma. And Willem, and it is something which bothered Willem at one point, because you can understand, he gets to know about this past, and instead of sitting with Jude, trying to get to know him better, trying to talk, even maybe go to couple therapy, because Jude had a therapist whom he went, maybe Willem and him might both have gone to the couple therapy, but he didn't. He just ignored it. And the most devastating and heartbreaking part was that even if Jude gave him permission, which is very weird, I felt, he was sleeping around with other women. He was with other women, which while dating Jude, it felt very much like cheating to me. And if you claim that you loved Jude to the bone and you care about him so much, then why is this becoming such of a big thing? Like, you can take that journey with him, you can sit with him, you can go to counseling, do whatever necessary, and maybe over time Jude would be fine with having that kind of closeness with you. But why is this so necessary, or to almost like cheat on Jude? So this didn't absolutely sit well with me, but I can see that maybe it's the character's flaw which the writer seemed to show, and maybe, but it didn't sit at all right with me. The third point, the characters Malcolm and JB. When it started, we did have a picture like all of them are together. We did have point of views of Malcolm, or how Malcolm's life was, or how JB's life was, their backdrop of their characters. But as it progressed, it felt like Malcolm and JB, these two characters, just vanished from the story. Like they were coming in at appropriate time just for the sake of coming in. If that point needed them, they are coming in, but they actually bear from the story in a larger sense. Like they are fading away only when the tragedy, like Malcolm's presence, become very prominent when the tragedy was supposed to hit Willem. So it's like they felt like prop rather than a group of four, and it was mostly on Jude and Willem. But these characters seemed also very interesting. They had very also layered side. So I think that if they would have been included more, then this story would have much more depth than what it have now. And talking about depth, another thing which I noticed, that this story is told mostly from a narrator's point of view. Like we see the narration going on, and then the dialogues are lesser than the narration is there. So if like for me at least particularly, I like the stories where the dialogues are going in, so that weaves the story much more better together. So this is also fine the way the narration goes on, but still I felt more dialogue, more conversation among the character. It's how the proper picture of the book comes out. And then finally this is what I felt like, the tragedy for the sake of tragedy. The way Willem had to die, there was no need. Like the way the character arc of Jude was going, after going through so much of tragedy, finally his character was healing. He was getting a better life. Both Jude and Willem, after having each their struggle in the relationship themselves, they were finally happy. They were finally, Jude went through an operation. They're finally starting to build a life which made sense, and it was going towards a better life of the book. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Willem had to die, and eventually Jude will also follow suit because he is traumatized. But I didn't feel the need to pack so much of trauma and so much of tragedy for the sake of tragedy. Or maybe it is just my point of view, because after seeing Jude and even to some point Willem suffer so much, I wanted them to be really happy and have a happy ending. But I can also say that sometimes life is unfair, but still this is one point which felt like so forced, like it's tragedy for a tragedy. The character arc was going so fine, and suddenly it's like, no, I'll not allow this character to be happy at all. Even if he sees a glimpse of happiness, it's going to just put a stop to that. So overall, despite all these points which frustrated me, I think it's a good read. If you like stories which are depth, has a lot of emotion, or a story which can make you cry, read it. I would love to hear your thought, how you have handled the grief. Did you feel all the points which were pain points for me while reading this book, or did you see it in some other light and find completely else some other points which you find as pain point, or some other points which you find as particularly good part of the book? So let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching me and spending time with me. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.